Ahoy hoy, Scrumpers. Welcome back. Now, this is a tedious final battle, but we must do it anyway. But it's left a poor taste in my mouth. Let's try Surge, see if that does it.
Director Faden here. I need a ranger dispatched to my position.
Director out in the field. You're covered.
What I'm talking about. And now he's going to recharge. Oh shit. For real. Oh my god, this weapon is such a pea shooter. Oh my god. Finally, tedious battle.
Hartman won't be a problem anymore, Langston. But investigations need someone to run it. Interested?
I've seen what happens to sector heads, ma'am. No, thank you. Ma'am, I'm getting something on my terminal here, an AWE alert from Bright Falls, Washington. But it might be a glitch. The date's all wrong, a couple of years in the future. And we're in lockdown, there shouldn't be any incoming signals.
Maybe it was active before we went into lockdown? Are there agents on site?
Let me check. Agent Estevez is the field agent in charge of monitoring the site, so she should be there to let us know if the situation has been through any major changes recently.
Something was set in motion. If the alarm's true, then so is the reason for the alarm. The effect must follow the cause. It's happening again. A return. You have been warned.
Well, there you have it, folks. Final battle complete. Can't deny, that was very tedious.
This must be where they studied Hartman. Kind of look.
The rock band Old Gods of Asgard was rehearsing field outside the Anderson farm, the homestead of band members Odin and Tor Anderson. Both admitted to being in a heavy state of inebriation at the time, having spent days drinking their home-brewed moonshine while celebrating Deerfest. After the townspeople evacuated the flooded field, Sheriff Breaker was asked by Freya Anderson, daughter of Tor Anderson, to check on her father and uncle. Breaker drove to the Anderson farm and found the band members alive but in need of medical aid. Tor Anderson had been struck by lightning, and Odin Anderson had cut out his own right eye. Possible reference to Norse deities. Redacted and redacted. They claimed they had fought and valiantly defeated a dark army of the Scratching Hag, rising from Cauldron Lake. While impossible to verify, these events are relevant to the recurring AWE at Bright Falls and the Cauldron Lake. Redacted. Odin and Tor Anderson have been listed as persons of interest. Oh, I
It's
bet.
a villain cell. I wonder if they treated him as badly.
Seek evidence. Ugh. A photograph of Alan Wake captured by Alice Wake during an event in her home. Background: Alice Wake, former wife Alan Wake. Details: has recently been visited at night by her ex-husband or entity resembling him. See file redacted for more. Being a professional photographer, Mrs. Wake positioned cameras with motion sensors around the corridor and managed to capture an image of Mr. Wake on film. During an interview with Mrs. Wake, she mentioned that her favorite camera, a redacted model, was lost in 2010 during AWE 35. No match has been found among confiscated evidence from AWE 5. It has been filed as a potential altered item, and research stationed at Bright Falls are being contacted to check if they have any knowledge of such item. Alright then. Have a look. What am I doing? Oh, great. Yeah, I suppose we're just going to have a little bit of a look around to see if there's I sincerely don't care. I'm not going to waste my time battling these. No need. Let's go back to executive control. I doubt anyone
I found a
has.
file on the old director, Northmore.
Doubt anyone has anything
never
new
thought
to
I'd
say.
be working in the executive sector. Look at me now, Ma.
I'll see you later.
You know where I'll be.
Sorry, ma'am. I took them.
I've looked through the docs we found in Dimensional Research. That slide projector is extremely powerful. You were right to shut it down.
Yes.
Well, I've got a bureau
Well.
to run. See you soon.
Yes, ma'am, Director Faden.
Please, Emily. Not even as a joke.
Well, there we have it. Control. Excellent world building, excellent themes, intriguing. And the combat, like, the powers and abilities are cool, but I feel like they're not balanced well together. Why only have two weapons? Why not have a weapon wheel you can just click and select one? And also, these need to be improved. Like, if they're going to do collecting items and improving, it needs to be more. It needs to be as intriguing as the oldest house, and it needs to be as weird as the oldest house. Because these are just so basic, and I feel like when it was made, was it 2018, 2019? 2019, I think. You know, people were doing more interesting designs than that. Projectiles. Oh, damn. Oh, hang on, let's... No, not charges. And there we go. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, Pierce. Okay. Alright, let's go for Pierce. Let's see what damage while aiming. There we go. Shot charge time is fairly handy. What's the other one? Spread. I mean, it's not like it really matters because I don't think I'm coming back to it. So as I say, recoil. Let's try recoil. Regardless. Yes, I don't think I'm coming back to it. There needs to be more interesting balancing between sort of powers and the service weapon. I understand the service weapon is sort of a reserve weapon. It's not, your powers are your main abilities. But I mean, shield. Shield is good. It's a good shield. But then you have the... Oh no, it's done through here. I forget. Outfits. No new outfit for completing the game. Oh well. So, you know, you have shield. And then you can launch your shield, as it were. But it's not very 100 shield rush damage. I didn't use shield rush much. I feel like perhaps I could give that more of a try. But 100% to shield barrage, it doesn't do that much damage. And also, it doesn't stagger enemies. And I feel like, okay, it doesn't have to do much damage. But staggering is important. Especially when they introduce those fast-moving, teleporting melee units. If you're going to do that, then you need something to counter those. Because those guys are, like, they have a lot. And this is the problem. I feel like the enemy has too many counters to your abilities, or you don't have enough counters to their abilities. It's often really just launch is the way to go. And it's good to have, I mean, I don't mind being overpowered or having something overpowered in a single player game. That doesn't matter much. However, speaking of launch, you know, those flying enemies' ability to dodge, I don't find them challenging. They're tedious. That's it. They're tedious. They're not interesting to fight. What else? Health. Again, I don't think health plays that much of a role, because when enemies hit you, it appears, to me at least, it's based on percentages and not amount of damage dealt. So the enemy will always deal, 15% damage to you. Well, it's more than that. It always seems to be a lot more than that. Most abilities I came across they took the vast majority of your health off, and the little blue orbs didn't grant that much health in return. So you spend a lot of time dodging, trying to recover your health. And while I appreciate the game encourages movement, I like quick maneuvering. If you've got to sort of watch your enemies, everything becomes a bit too hectic for me, a bit too chaotic. And in a visual game like this, where it looks great, I want to perhaps pace myself and watch. I think the mobification and the what games am I thinking of? I'm thinking of like perhaps PUBG. You know what I mean? The mobile games and the microtransaction ridden multiplayer games where it's all really just visual, hectic chaos in order to sort of distract you from lack of substance. I don't like that becoming mainstream in sort of single player games. I'm not saying this is definitely the case here, but I remember watching and listening to some of the interviews and commentary before the game came out, and little discussions like that came up, and I feel like some of that fear on the designer's part influenced a bit of the design. What else? Again, I think this is just a game everyone should experience, should play once at least. But it's not a game, I come back to, mostly because the enemies aren't that interesting, and when they do introduce, the more interesting enemies, like the hiss that can go invisible and then ambush you, yes, it forces you to be a bit more thoughtful in your gameplay, but it's also quite skewed, quite extreme versions. Like, they'll do loads of damage to you, and then the smaller enemies will cut you up. It feels a little bit like I'm the boss villain, when you're in a boss battle and you've got to have environmental attacks that do a lot of damage, and then you whittle their health down with bug bites. I feel like I'm the boss that the enemy does a lot of damage to and then whittles me down, and I don't really enjoy that. I'm hoping the next one, because I do want a next one, I really want them to improve, because this Control is an improvement upon their previous games. Now, I've heard Alan Wake 2 is very good. We'll see. I've heard it's got a bit less combat in it too, which is fine. I'm okay with an environmental game, because this is an environmental game. But I hope Control 2 really irons it out. For one, a weapon wheel. No more just, I've only got these, I can only slot in 2. None of that. None of that. Don't want that. No, there's really just no need, frankly. You can have a whole weapon wheel. Make the weapon abilities more interesting. Why not have, instead of, percentage damage, blah, blah. I mean, they introduced something more interesting here with these special ones, which is nice. Certainly appreciated. But, it's like, so what? So what? Like, they still, charge, that's still inaccurate because it fires 3. The amount of times these I've had an enemy right in the crosshairs, and then I fire, and all the missiles just go around it. It's very frustrating. And it doesn't do a lot of damage. Again, no matter what you're using, everything feels like a bit of a pea shooter. This is a bit more interesting. That's a bit, that's a bit cooler. But I'd rather maybe just have one, have a lot of slots that changes it perhaps into a spin. That way you could have a spin. There's also a bit of pierce. So it slows the spin down and reduces its ammo. But you can do a lot more piercing, and then depending on what further modifications you slot in, it increases it to become a pierce. Or you have all these weapons, but introduce a weapon wheel so you can change it more or less instantaneously, and have more. And you can have this stuff too, but stuff more interesting. So with the weapon wheel, it would thematically fit better, because this is like a living weapon. It changes. It changes its form. And perhaps even introduce some sort of more, paranatural abilities to it. That's much like how you cleanse an object of power to gain an ability. Why not have abilities that go into these? It could be anything, just get a bit imaginative, For example, I don't know, shatter. Well, first of all, they need to increase the knockback damage for shatter. In fact, they need to introduce knockback both to shatter and, as I said, with like shield, when you hurl the shield debris at the enemy. But it can have more shatter. It could, slow time down or something like that. Just more wacky, interesting stuff that a lot of games have already done. I mean, hell, even Mass Effect Andromeda for all the issues with that game, and it also suffered from boring enemies, but had a really great weapon system, weapon modification that's synergized with powers. I actually recently tried playing that. It's still very, very clunky, and in terms of its optimization, and still a bit buggy. And yeah, of course, you have to go through the EA launcher, which is like a damn virus, and it would slow down. Because I have it on Steam, then you have to open up the EA launcher, and of course that slowed down the launch. I can't with this. I got it on Steam. You just click and play. It starts pretty much immediately. But anyway, that's a bit of a side tangent. I would like to do a video on publisher sort of behavior and business practices, because they are trash right now. Anyway, these, and also as the what you need to improve stuff. What do these mean? It's not really clear what these actually mean, so it doesn't do anything. So I'm not going to go for 100% on this game. As much as I like it, and I even have a level of respect for it, there's just too many issues I have. Like, what's a corrupted sample? Where do I get one of those? Doesn't matter. Like, obscured weapon mod prime. What does... do these symbols... Are these symbols supposed to tell me something? I don't know if they do. Ammo efficient... Ooh, terrific. That's so cool. It's so uninteresting and uninspired for everything. It's very strange, because considering how interesting the oldest house is, considering how interesting this is, and even though the characters aren't super interesting themselves, there's enough bizarreness and strangeness to warrant more and warrant appreciation for the game. And yet this is so basic. It's so, the word is gamey. So, again, I have mixed polarizing feelings on this. And yet, it's a game that I am happy to have in my library. It's definitely, I feel like, a game to be respected, and it does stuff that's, in terms of world building and storytelling and conceptually, that I can't really, I can't think of other games doing much. There are definitely weird games out there, and I want to explore them more. And I will always prefer it over Resident Evil. Ugh. But those are just some of my, surface level thoughts. Compelling world building, intriguing, fun concepts, held back by some gameplay stuff and design choices, and just sort of this that's not very interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this Scrump with me, and hopefully the next game I play will be interesting. I'm hoping to play through Alan Wake 2. That is my next Scrump. So thank you so much. I hope you got something from this. And I will see you next time. Thank you.